I'd love to start today's conversation with your time at Yammer, because you joined Yammer. I think it was your first sales ops role. You joined really early on there. Can you talk about like how you ended up at working at Yammer in a sales ops role?
Yeah, so my background has always been in sales. So out of college, I took an inside sales role at a networking hardware company. Kind of moved my way around different, doing different sales roles, leading inside sales teams, doing channel sales, and around 2007, I want to say, I ended up going to work with a VP of sales I had worked with before. His name was Phil Bradley, and he brought me on to a company that was small at the time, called MuleSource, which ended up turning into MuleSoft. It was about 100 people. He needed salespeople, so I joined. I was selling, and it was at the time it was an open source community, and MuleSource was selling services to help people leverage the open source platform, right? So we would get a bunch of leads of people that would sign up for the open source to contribute to it and whatnot. And then we would call and say, hey, I know you signed up for the open source project. Would love to talk to you about how we can help you leverage MuleSource more in your environment and what you're doing. And 2008 happened. So if you remember 2008, that was kind of the economic downturn, real estate crash, and MuleSoft ended up laying some people off, and I got laid off. And my VP Phil took me to a room, classic red, red manila folder, right? The red folder is always the one where it's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to get laid off today. And he opens it up and he leans back and he's like, Don, I need to tell you something, and I don't want you to take the wrong way. And I said, what's that? And he said, I am going to be a reference for you. However, I'm not going to be a reference for you if you decide to do another sales job. And I was like, what does that mean? And he said, I've worked with you at two companies, and I think you're a decent sales rep. You get the job done. You're not a blow the number out of the water guy, but you're also not, you also know how to do the job. You don't crash and burn. You're reliably, 75, 80%, right? And he said, the thing I've noticed working with you at two companies now is that you really get excited and you have a passion for helping everybody make Salesforce work. So I was the default guy that everyone would turn to. Don, I need a report. Don, I need a dashboard. Don, I need to import these leads. Don, how do we create a campaign? Everyone would just turn to me, and I would just, I'm just naturally a helpful person, and I would try to help them do it. And so he says, what I think you have done is you have missed your calling. And he's like, I really think you should go into what was at the time called sales operations. He's like, I really think you could make a career out of helping people make Salesforce work in their organization. So he's like, I really think, you should go in that direction for a career. And I would like to be a reference for you for that. And I was like, at first I was really angry, right? It's like, why are you not going to be a reference for me, Phil? I was pretty upset, but he ended up finding me a recruiter who had a connection with a company called Genie, GENI.com. And GENI.com was a family tree. It's still around. You can make your family tree. Basically, you build out, you put yourself, you add your family, and then it was meant to be viral, where you can basically invite your family, and they add the things that they know, and they add the people that they know, and their aunts and uncles and cousins, and basically the whole idea was to blow up this whole family tree into this amazing thing. I still use it today. I'm big on Ancestry, so I was like, wow, this is a really cool product. I'm checking it out, and one of the things at Genie that they were doing is they were like, hey, we need to create a platform for us to be able to communicate with each other. So we want to have an internal communication system where we can, asynchronously work with each other that isn't email. And what they ended up creating got spun out as Yammer. And so David Sachs, who was the founder of Genie, founder of Yammer, was basically thought, hey, this is a really good thing. We should probably create a company around this, and let's build it as a separate company. Jeannie was down in LA. They decided to move they decided to move Yammer up to San Francisco. So there was a bunch of people that were at Jeannie that were like, yeah, I want to do Yammer. So basically they took this company, it was like 30 people, and everyone was moving to San Francisco. And so this is like January 2010, I want to say, when everyone was kind of in the move. They were moving around, and I was, they were trying to hire people. So I interviewed. This is like February, March of 2010. Everyone was awesome, right? I'm like, wow, this is really cool. I think what you guys are doing are neat. We were actually using Yammer at MuleSource, so I was familiar with it. And we got to a point in the interview process when you're early on at that company at Yammer. David Sachs interviewed everybody, so he kind of had the final say, yes or no, on anybody that came into the company. And so I met with everybody. I got glowing reviews from everyone that I interviewed with. Ended up going to David, and David's like, so we talked about RevOps a little bit, sales ops, and like why I was trying to go in that direction. It was maybe 5 minutes of the conversation, and he's like, oh, okay. He said, like, you're familiar with Yammer? And I said, oh yeah, I'm familiar with Yammer. We use it at MuleSoft. I think it's really cool. It's we got a lot of usage out of it. It was very popular. It was very viral. I think it's really neat. And he's like, what don't you like about it? And I said, well, I don't know how you're going to monetize, because at the time everything was on a credit card. So it's like, that's fine if you're a small company with 30 people. And it's like, okay, I'll put on my credit card and I'll expense it. But like, if you get viral at a company like, I don't know, IBM, you could be this secretary at an office in Lexington, Kentucky that like starts it. And then a month later, there's 5,000 people using it. Right? She's going to get a bill that's going to blow her credit card up. And I'm like, so I don't know how you're really gonna monetize that. And I think that's a big problem. And I just went on and on and on about all these little kind of nitpicky things I didn't like about it. And David's writing everything down. And we get to the bottom of the hour, and he's like, oh, hey, I have a meeting. I have a meeting at the bottom of the hour. It was a great meeting you, Don. Thanks for coming in. We'll be in touch. And I get walked out the door, and I'm just like, okay, well, I didn't really talk about anything about sales ops except for like the first 5 minutes. And I basically talked apart for a good 20 minutes. He probably hates me, right? I ended up getting hired. And one of the things I asked David, probably like a month or two after I started, why did you hire me? And he's like, it was pretty clear to me you were very passionate about Yammer, and I just wanted you in the building. Like it's like if you wanted to go do, I was fine letting you do whatever you wanted to do. I trusted that you would be able to do the job of whatever you thought you might be able to, how you might be able to provide value to the company. I was going to trust you to do it. And he's like, if you want to do sales ops, great, do sales ops. So, I joined. They had literally just bought Salesforce. I had a brand new, absolutely clean instance of Salesforce. There was nothing in it. So like I was able to go, great, everybody listen. Stay out of Salesforce for the next 3 weeks. Let me put together some basic processes. I'll build out some reports, some dashboards, and we'll get things going. And I did that. And I want to say May of 2010, we had a $40K deal with Nationwide Insurance. It was our first customer. And, it was on enterprise. So, again, what we were trying to do was if you're a small company, you can put it on your credit card. That's great. But if you're a large company, you probably want to have an enterprise contract. That was kind of the B2B motion that we were trying to build. And that's what I was helping, propel. And it just took off from there. I mean, that was 2010. And by 2012, we were acquired by Microsoft for $1.2 billion.
Such a great story on so many fronts. I mean, it's like knowing how big of a product guy Sachs is, like he probably just loved that in the interview, right? He's like,
you know David too, yeah.
That's exactly what he wanted to hear. Probably, he's like, all the sales off stuff probably would have been boring to him, but hearing all of the product feedback and nitpicking it was probably like the best way to win him over. And then going back even to the MuleSoft days, like, I mean, what a great manager. I mean, that's like exactly the type of tough conversation that set you on an amazing career trajectory. And I had no idea.
It was kind of I was 37 at the time. So it was kind of my midlife crisis. It was like, okay, I need to get out of sales and do something different. Phil's like, Don, go do this. Like, you'll be good at it. Trust me. And it ended up being a good thing. And it was, the other thing about the Yammer too, Yammer, similar to Slack, has history. So like when you join a company, you could go in and search the history of Yammer. It was one of the things that was kind of cool, right? The whole thing of onboarding, similar to Slack. When you onboard, you can basically, rather than having to ask a question again, you can go in and search and see, has somebody already asked this question? Has it been answered? So you kind of, you're able to use it as kind of a knowledge base to learn. And so I literally went in and I searched Otvos to see if anybody had talked about me. And the day that I interviewed, David had an entry. It was like, I just met this candidate, Don Otvos, and he told us about all these things. He told me about all these things that need to be fixed in our product, and he like mentioned everybody on the engineering team. It was like, okay, I get it, going back to, his love of product,
Totally.
David, he was getting it firsthand from somebody, and Yammer at the time was really small. I mean, MuleSource was probably one of the first customers of Yammer as a freemium product. We signed up for the freemium version.